What's up, my good people of the internet? Dan Tortora hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. And I got to wish you two things. I got to tell you happy Valentine's Day, and I have to tell you happy Ash Wednesday. So, Ash Wednesday, Valentine's Day together, which means yesterday was Fat Tuesday, aka Mardi Gras. So, this week we had Mardi Gras, Ash Wednesday, Valentine's Day. Awesome. Syracuse upset win. Syracuse women's basketball getting a huge game against Louisville 73-72. Then the men's team coming into the Dome doing their thing against North Carolina 86-79. Now the top team in the ACC, North Carolina, has 3 losses in the conference, and all 3 of those losses are to non-ranked teams, unranked teams, at Georgia Tech, Clemson at home, and at Syracuse. So we're going to get into the experience last night because, of course, I was at the Dome by the grace of God. And before that, we're going to get into our exclusive series, our piece with the LeMoyne College athletic director, that being Mr. Bob Beretta. So LeMoyne College Athletic Director Bob Beretta and I are going to be speaking in an all-new AD and DT, which airs every first and third Wednesday of each month, jumping into the stories of student-athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. Very excited for the opportunity. Dolphin Dive, bringing you all those pieces, AD and DT, giving us the opportunity to speak with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and, of course, like I said, myself, Dan Tortora, speaking on so many different topics today. We're going to get into the successes of LeMoyne Dolphins men's and women's basketball, how both teams right now are set to make the postseason, are both in the top 4 of the NEC in their first seasons as Division I programs in the NCAA. We're going to get into the fact that there is a game this Thursday at home for the men's team who have been on the road for a bunch of games. And the way it works is when the men are on the road, the women are at home when it comes to basketball. So they flip. And so typically they're playing on the same night against the same team. One's home, one's away. So now the women are on the road. The men are going to be at home for a bunch of games here, including this Thursday and this Saturday. And this Saturday, February 17th, is a massive day. It's going to start, the game starts at 2 o'clock for men's basketball. But before that happens, there's going to be an honoring of Kaiyem Cleary as well as Isaiah Salter, who both achieved incredible feats in the same game. Isaiah Salter getting to 1,000 career points. Kaiyem Cleary becoming the top scorer in a single game in LeMoyne history, breaking a record that was set 70 years ago. So a lot of great stuff coming up. The person who set the record 7 decades ago is supposed to be presenting the ball to Kaiyem Cleary. So that's going to be a really awesome moment. I've never seen anything like that, where someone who set a record, especially such a long time ago, can present something to the person who broke the record here in the present. So that's really amazing. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Cub Scouts are going to be honored. If you come wearing your Scout gear, you get in for free to the game. And there's going to be a commemorative patch from LeMoyne that's going to go to the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, and the Cub Scouts. And beyond that, spring sports are starting. A lot of great stuff is happening. Going back to the event this Saturday, February 17th, the Beeville Band is back on campus. And like Bob Beretta likes to call them, the adopted band of LeMoyne. So wonderful things coming up. A lot of things to get into with AD and DT. Can't wait to share that with you. And right around the corner, on February 29th, we have Giving Day, 24 hours of giving to LeMoyne. So a lot of wonderful stuff to talk about in just a few moments inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' with AD and DT. Then we're going to jump into that Syracuse, North Carolina game, and then Papa Joe's going to join us a day early. And from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, instead of Thursday this week, he's going to join us today. And we're going to have the opportunity to get his take on San Francisco versus Kansas City, what that title game looked like through his eyes. Pat Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid are the Chiefs of Dynasty. Where do we go from here? And PJ never watches commercial TV, but in this game, he had to. So I'm going to ask him about what he did during commercial breaks and all that good stuff. We'll have some fun with it. So a lot of great things coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Got a comment that came in already this morning. Great signature win by the Orange last night. Yeah, that's a quad one win for all this weird quad garbajos. We do strength of schedule, we do RPI, now we do quads, and teams are in these different pocket universes within college basketball. It's weird. Great signature win by the Orange last night. I would say their best performance of the season, factoring in the quality of it. Listen, it was their best 40 minutes that they played all season. They played a full 40 minutes. It was huge. And there's a lot of great stuff coming up. And make sure you pay attention today, because I'm going to be releasing on all of our social media and our YouTube channel my conversations with Adrian, my Q&A with Adrian Autry, the head coach, as well as my Q&As with JJ Starling, with Malik Brown, as well as Quadir Copeland and Chris Bell. Will all be coming up on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, and on YouTube.com/Wake Up Call DT. A lot of amazing things coming up. So many great conversations to be had on a love-filled. We're always about love here on Wake Up Call, not just on February 14th. But, happy Valentine's Day to all of you that are out there celebrating. I know some of you are like, it's a commercial holiday. I agree that you should love your loved ones every single day. You shouldn't need an excuse. You shouldn't need Valentine's Day or Mother's Day or Father's Day or their birthday or Christmas or Easter or the 4th of July or Flag Day or whatever. You shouldn't need any of those days to show love. But Valentine's Day is a reminder that we should be each other's Valentine all the time. And whoever your Valentine is, be it your significant other, your mom, your dad, your bro, your sis, your grandparents, your dog, your cat, whoever it may be, my Valentines this year, God, always. My mom, my dad, and Lily. So I like to do things, do little things, show that you care, show some love, spread some love. So however you're celebrating Valentine's Day, whoever your Valentines are, happy Valentine's Day. And happy Ash Wednesday, as we remember that we are dust, and to dust we will return, right? To humble ourselves and to put God first. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back with an all-new AD and DT right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome here to another edition of AD and DT with Athletics Director of LeMoyne College, Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora, aka DT. We are here with you on campus, on the Heights. There is so much going on, and I cannot wait to share that all with you here this morning during Dolphin Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and our multimedia marketing partnership. Mr. Beretta, how are we?
I'm excellent, Dan. How are you today?
Doing very well.
Yeah.
I have to start it off by saying something I say on the show all the time. Can you believe that Wake Up Call, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and LeMoyne are in year 3 right now?
No, it's been a blink. Really, it's been a blink of an eye. They say the days go by long and the years go by short. I think it's all going by really fast.
Yeah.
The days, the months, the years, all of it. But it's been 3 great years, and so thrilled to be partnered with Dan Tortora Broadcast to help tell the stories of our fantastic student athletes.
No, it's been an honor for me, and like I said, time flies. They always say it flies when you're having fun. You know, whenever I get done with a show and it feels like it was quick, that's good. If it feels like it took forever, which they don't feel that way, then you know you're doing something wrong. So, speaking of how fast things go by, this men's and women's basketball season is just speeding. We are a few weeks from March, the first opportunity at some madness, albeit in the conference tournament, not the NCAA yet. And I know this is the fun part, because like coaches say they can't say certain things, but other people can. Well, as a broadcast person, Bob can sit here and smile, and I can say to the NCAA, change the rule. So hopefully we can do some postseason soon for this, because, I mean, let's face it, Merrimack and what they've done in the NEC, with what Stonehill's done in the NEC, and now LeMoyne for men's and women's basketball have made such a huge impact already on the NEC that just looking at this one conference of the 32 that are out there, it would prove to the NCAA that we really need to change that 4-year rule.
Well, when I discuss this topic publicly, I always reiterate, we know what we signed up for, we agreed to that, and we're comfortable with that. Now, however, should the NCAA want to examine that rule and maybe shorten the period of time, we'd be very much in favor of those conversations and love to engage in those talks for our student athletes. But we do know what we signed up for, and this was the part that we felt would be the most difficult for our current student athletes. Is what kept me up at night as we were discerning this process, whether to pursue a transition to Division I or not. So we would love to have the opportunity to compete for an NCAA championship immediately, but we are so grateful that the NEC permitted our student athletes to compete for conference championships immediately. And we're getting in that time of the year where it's going to get really interesting for both of our basketball teams for sure.
Well, I think it improves the NEC portfolio immediately, and it also improves LeMoyne nationally and internationally, showing what you and I and Dr. Linda Lemura and people here on the Heights and alumni knew, which is that LeMoyne was ready to go D1, and the NEC making that investment in you is automatically getting a return. So quickly with so many sports that we saw in the fall and now here in the winter and heading into the spring. So, I mean, really, it's a great problem to have, to say, this is who we thought we were, this is who we're showing we actually are, and this is what we're doing as a conference to make things interesting. And I think the NEC has been great. I think the competition's been wonderful, and seeing LeMoyne, all over the place in Division I has been wonderful. And for somebody like me who's such a March Madness fanatic, I'm not going to say fanatic, but a March Madness fan of just the game, the women's and men's game, the beauty of what March becomes. I'm looking forward to the NEC, and I want to thank the NEC and what they did have in their control, which is to offer immediate eligibility into their conference tournaments and conference championships for all of the sports that they sponsor. So LeMoyne student athletes and coaches did not have to wait. And I want to reiterate my thanks, my gratitude, my appreciation for someone who's no stranger to me or Wake Up Call, and that's Noreen Morris, and everyone that's working in the NEC, and all the presidents and chancellors and all of the leaders of the respectable, wonderful institutions that are there that help to obviously agree to bring you in,
Yes.
and at the same time to make the decision. So I know that I can't wait for the NCAAs, but without the NEC doing what you've done, we wouldn't be talking about a postseason at all. So many thanks to Noreen and her team. I think they more than have earned the right to say a big time thank you to them.
Well, they delivered for us, and the commissioner, just great leadership throughout the process. We're so indebted to the presidents that made that decision, and it was Commissioner Morris's leadership that she was willing to consider that and bring it forward early on in our membership. Literally before we even became a member officially on July 1st, the presidents voted in June to allow us to compete immediately for the NEC championships. And you talk about just the shot in the arm for our current student athletes and how excited they are. And you have to be around our teams right now as we get toward March, and they'll be competing for that league championship. If were it not for that, their season would come to an abrupt end early in March, and that would be the end of that. And so now to have this second season, if you will, for them to be able to compete and we're positioning ourselves well on both sides to make a significant run in the NEC tournament.
Well, that's the beauty, is not only has LeMoyne and Stonehill been made eligible for these postseason tournaments, but they, on the court in men's and women's basketball that we're discussing here, they did what they needed to do to have the opportunity. It's one thing to be eligible and know that the opportunity's out there. It's another thing to take it. And as we're sitting here today on the Heights at LeMoyne College, we know that the men's and women's team, as of today, would both be in their tournaments for the NEC, and they're looking in good shape with a few weeks to go.
Well, the women are in second place right now, and they've already clinched a position in the tournament. And I think that hopefully we'll be in position to host one or two NEC tournament games on the women's side, which would be an unbelievable accomplishment in year one. And our men are also competing for that fourth spot. The top four teams in the conference host the first round tournament, first round game in the tournament, and we feel like our men are going to have a great chance at this. They're tied right now for fourth. It's a scrum. There's several teams in the midst of that. The good news is we control our own destiny. 4 of our next 6 men's basketball games are here at Ted Grant Court against those very same teams that we need to defeat in order to secure that home field, home court advantage for at least the first round of the NEC tournament. So I can't say enough great things about Nate Champion and Mary Grimes, the jobs that they've done in year one, and not only acquiring the talent necessary to be competitive, but also the mindset. And that's been a big part of this, because this season has been filled with ebbs and flows and highs and lows. Our women's team opened up 2-11 and they got to double-digit victories. I think they've won now 8 of their last 10 games. I think it's something like that. And our men, they've had kind of a steady roll all season long. Went through a really difficult period in the non-conference, weathered that storm, and have been exceedingly competitive in the NEC throughout the year. And with a victory over Central Connecticut. We have a big game against Central Connecticut here Thursday night against the first place team. LeMoyne defeated Central Connecticut once already this year. I'm sure that it's going to be a heck of a game on Thursday night here at Ted Grant Court.
Well, and the thing is, when you look at the overall record too, the challenges that both of these teams had in their first Division I season, with the women spending a month and a half on the road, the men opening up against Georgetown and then Villanova in the same week. We look at the tests that have come and all the non-conference and pushing yourself to be prepared after going through a non-conference battle. You think, hey, we might lose some of these games, or we're going to have such great competition that it's going to hopefully push the best out of you. And the hope was, going into the non-conference schedule, that how you test yourself would end up paying dividends once you got into the conference of the NEC. It has. And as we sit here today, both of these teams in their first seasons as Division I programs have the opportunity to finish the regular season with a winning record, which anybody who's making a reclassification jump to get above 500, that is a massive victory, especially in year one. and both of these teams are in control of that destiny.
Yeah, really exciting things. And every game now is so important, Dan. And we look ahead to Thursday night. We talked about the Central Connecticut matchup. But then on Saturday is going to be a massive day here for us. We have so many promotions scheduled. And we'll play Stonehill for the second time in, I think, 9 days. And that'll be a game with tremendous ramifications for the postseason for us. Trying to get as many people out to cheer on our men's team. They're worthy of that support. And we're also going to officially celebrate the 75th anniversary of LeMoyne men's basketball here on Saturday, inviting all former players back free of charge, pregame admission, pregame reception, free admission. We're going to have a recognition ceremony, a nice video at halftime. We have some pregame festivities in terms of presentations. We have a really special presentation we're excited about, Dan, with Kaiyem Cleary and Isaiah Salter, 2 separate presentations. But the one with Kai, that's going to feature hopefully Dick Kenyon and Phil Marlowe, perhaps the 2 former record holders of the single game record in person to help celebrate that moment and present Kaiyem Cleary with a commemorative basketball. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. And not too many schools where you can have the former record holder present a ceremonial commemorative ball to the new record holder. That's pretty special, particularly with a record that stood for over 70 years. So that'll be fun. We have Scout Day, our first of 2 Scout Days on Saturday. So free admission to all Scouts that are in uniform. That's Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts. We're going to give out free posters. We'll have a post-game autograph session so the Cub Scouts can get those posters signed. And we developed a free Scout Day commemorative LeMoyne Athletic Scout Day patch for the Scouts that come to the game on Saturday. So a whole lot of things going on. And of course, the game is going to be broadcast on Yes Network. So if you can't come out to Ted Grant Court, please catch it on Yes. Or better yet, it will be rerun. So why don't you come out to the game Saturday and then catch it on replay later on in the evening.
Come live to Ted Grant Court, record it at home to watch later. That's what you guys need to do.
That's the plan.
So, yeah, I mean, and like you said, this Thursday, huge game against Central Connecticut State, an opportunity to see them again, this time at home at LeMoyne in Syracuse, New York on Thursday for the men. The women had been home for a bunch of games, the men on the road. That's how it flips in the NEC. Now it's flipped back, so the men are going to have a bunch of these games at home like you had mentioned. And so a game on Thursday, then the game on Saturday, Scout Day honoring Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, as well as having the Beeville Band.
That's right.
And we're going to have an opportunity to honor Kaiyem Cleary with him setting the new record with points in a single game. And like you had stated, not only to honor him and give him a commemorative basketball with this information on it, but to have the former record holder of 70 years hand this off to him, which is something that I've never witnessed in my life in 20 years as a broadcaster. So I'm looking forward to that. Isaiah Salter will have a nice honoring of his 1,000 points that he has and the beautiful history and what he has on and off the court become. So for Kai as well as for Isaiah, looking forward to both of those moments happening on Saturday, plus having LeMoyne basketball alumni come back. I've gotten to meet some of the history of LeMoyne, so I'm hoping that you all come back. Please make sure you do, as you're watching this with a few days before that time. And so we'll see you on Saturday, hopefully see you on Thursday, see you on Saturday for honoring 75 years of LeMoyne men's basketball, honoring all of the alumni that are a part of the history, honoring Kai, honoring Isaiah, honoring Boys and Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, giving them that commemorative patch, honoring our community with the Beeville Band again, who are incredible and really good on free throws when the other team's shooting, and on the Yes Network. So it's going to be such a massive, massive weekend. It's starting a little bit before 2 o'clock. So you come here around 1 o'clock for the pre-opportunity for the alumni to come in and have that get together. The game will tip off at 2, and we will see you here. Hopefully we'll see you here Thursday night as well. The women will be on the road, and they'll be back at home before things are all said and done. And being the number 2 seed, there's the opportunity, like Bob had mentioned, that we will get to see them at home in the postseason, which is no different than what we saw with Mary Grimes last year when they were the number 1 seed hosting the NE10 tournament. So from D2 to D1, Mary's making it look the same, hosting these games.
She's been incredible, and she's just got a group of young ladies that are relentless. They really are. They are relentless. They started the season with such a tough non-conference schedule, and to see how far they've grown in the past several months, it's incredible. And we're so excited about basketball, but Dan, tomorrow we open up with the spring sports. Our women's lacrosse team opens up Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock against Cal. That's California Golden Bears from the former Pac-12, coming here to Ted Grant Field on Thursday at 1 o'clock. So hoping it's kind of chilly out there that day. Their AD is a good friend of mine from our West Point days, Jim Knowlton. So hopefully it's a little bragging rights between us that
it's supposed to snow.
Yeah, we'd like a little bit of snow flurries. Would be great earlier in the day for that game. And then really the weekend, the majority of our spring sports kick off. Our baseball and softball teams kick off on the road, and men's lacrosse opens up at Wagner on Saturday as well. So it's just an incredible time to be in college athletics when you have the spring-winter overlap, and when your teams are doing really well like ours are, it just adds to the overall excitement.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, with lacrosse being able to start off against Cal, start off at home this week for women's and men's lacrosse getting into action, baseball and softball jumping into it. You just saw my Dolphin Dive special with Tracy Roman, the head coach of the softball program, and everything that she's excited about, and the fact that the press box is there. We know with baseball getting started on the road, the new dugouts, and everything that's been happening with that. And we already know that Ted Grant Field from men's and women's soccer has the concession stand and the restrooms that were all built for many sports in this upcoming season. So everybody in the spring is going to get to see, utilize, and enjoy the benefits of LeMoyne and leadership like Bob Beretta, Dr. Linda Lemura, and the board here keeping your word and actually creating. And we're going to see that immediately with men's and women's lacrosse, baseball, and softball. We've already seen it with men's and women's soccer. And when we talk about the gym and volleyball and men's and women's basketball, we've already seen what has been done here with the athletic department and Bob spearheading so many different pieces of making sure that the aesthetically pleasing effect of it, and having digital boards to having more stuff on the digital board that we see on the scoreboard, to having the digital long board that's right in front of the scorer's table, to everything that we have seen with different promotions as well as LeMoyne's logos, the NEC teams. There's been so much work that's been done, and people that come in for the first time, they would know no different. But the people that have been here, product placement and just making sure that people know this is the home of the Dolphins, and when you're in the Dolphin Den, you know what it feels like. I have to give you and all the leadership credit for really pushing to do these things that may be simple, like putting a Dolphin on the concession stand, but all too important, and making sure, like you and I talked about, not having blank spaces.
Yeah, it's really important to me. Branding is very important. It helps tell our story. It helps tell our story when you enter our gym now and see the branding in there. But we're just scratching the surface. There's more plans in place for the summer. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of execute phase 2 of a little branding process in the gym, and maybe some other facilities like the pool might get a little bit of branding done. And we always have the next steps in place and in mind. Budgets are always a major concern, but we'll look to see what we can continue to try to improve not only the student athlete experience, but also the fan experience. It's really important to me that when our guests come in to Ted Grant Court or Ted Grant Field or out at Dick Rockwell Field or at the LeMoyne softball complex, the pool, we want them to have an experience like no other. And I know that there are larger institutions, larger athletic programs, but we're pretty special in what we have, and we want to make sure we elevate everything that we offer to our fans, because when they come here, it's a very unique experience, and we want them to come back.
Yeah, and you want them to feel at home, and there's something about LeMoyne bringing you in and making you feel very comfortable. There's not a bad seat in the house, and that's when you're on the fields, that's when you're sitting on the bleachers, that's when you're inside of Ted Grant Court. There's no bad seats, and that's a beautiful thing of really making the fan base feel welcome, feel a part of the action, and to get involved. And you have done that. You've done that rain or shine. You've done it on good days. You've done it on days where the weather's not the best and whatnot. So I want to thank everybody that's come out. You've done it around holidays, and you've been tremendous. So let's make sure we do that this Thursday with a massive game against Central Connecticut State. For basketball, for men's basketball, let's make sure we do it against Cal
for women's lacrosse opening in D1, going back to D1. Sure. They're one of 2 programs that gets to say they were D1 before. Baseball doing the same thing, but doing it on the road. So make sure on Thursday you got a 2 for women's lacrosse against Cal, men's basketball later on against CCSU inside of Ted Grant Court, and then a massive weekend Saturday, this Saturday. You do not want to miss Saturday, February 17th, and all the festivities that go along with honoring the history, the current, and bridging it all together, as we always talk about being one Finn family. And again, LeMoyne is special to me and beautiful to me because Bob and I don't sit and talk and say nice things. We talk about things that are important to us, and then you see them in action. And I've sat next to Bob for 3 years, and everything that we've talked about, I've seen something come of it. I don't go up to Bob and say, hey, 7 months ago we discussed this, where is it at? We have had genuine, real conversations on and off the air. And I've seen you come through for this athletic department. I've seen your team come through. I've seen the president. And I'm asking you, as they've come through for you, and they've honored their word here on Wake Up Call, that you come through for them on February 29th for Giving Day. 24 hours of giving back to LeMoyne and making sure that whatever is to come, you can be a part of.
Yeah, that's a very important day for us, Dan. The Giving Day allows us to execute a lot of the things that we talk about doing, whether it's branding, whether it's the establishment of a fueling station, nutritious snacks for our student athletes, our partnerships with local businesses that have allowed us to open up a smoothie station now a couple times a week, and then a nutrition station, our strength and conditioning. But all that costs money, and you know, when you give to the unrestricted athletics fund, it allows us to, that's the fuel that we need to provide the experience for our student athletes. And as you mentioned, Dan, we take great pride in being kind of Syracuse's hometown school, right? Being really embedded in the community, and we feel like Saturday will be a big part of that. The Beanville Band, they're our adopted band, they're our adopted high school, and we love to bring them here, and that's really big. But we're doing the same with the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Girl Scouts. We have another Scout Day on March 2nd. If you can't make it out Saturday, come March 2nd, we're going to offer the same opportunities. Post-game autograph sessions, again, because we want our student athletes to interact with the young people in this community. And then we have 2 military appreciation days set up for February, one on February 22nd, one on February 29th. Again, we're trying to connect with the community, all aspects of the community. We want to invite them here, invite them into LeMoyne, have some interactions and develop some relationships with our student athletes. They're our best resources, and we know that when folks have the opportunity to interact with our students and our student athletes here, that they want to continue to have that kind of relationship, because really the strength of LeMoyne has been and always will be our students, our student athletes, the people here that work here, our staff and faculty, but it all comes down to serving our students. And we feel like the community needs to be and wants to be part of this educational process that we have.
Yeah, I mean, it's so amazing to see it, and there's been so many autograph signings already. We've seen it with men's and women's soccer, we've seen it with men's and women's basketball, and I've been there on site to physically see the people that are standing around and making sure they get their autographs. And one of my favorite moments was how it gives me a chill, is how we started off D1, where the women's soccer team came home, and not only were they signing, but they had the little kids. They would take something that they wanted them to sign, and the little kid would bend over and they'd sign it on their back, or they'd sign the jersey that they had on. And I was standing right there with the women's soccer team and watching them give so many autographs, and just see them smile and see the little kids there, and just that, real connection of, and at any age, to have somebody come up to you and sign the jersey that you're wearing, sign the shirt that you're wearing. I mean, those are memories, and I tell them, I said, this is going to last with these kids forever.
Forever.
3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, and you could be the one that inspires them to get in the net, to get on the court, to jump in the pool, to pick up a lacrosse stick, to, go out there and put a softball helmet on, or pick up a bat for baseball. You never know, or start running on a track, or pick up that tennis racket. You don't know what type of effect you can have on somebody. And every interaction that you have should be purposeful, even the tiny ones that you think aren't important, like holding a door open. And LeMoyne held the door open for me, and I am so honored and privileged to be able to see so much growth. If you see it through my eyes, D2 to D1, the people didn't change. through your eyes, you're seeing the viability of going from D2 to D1. But through my eyes, LeMoyne is LeMoyne, and I'm proud to wear a fin. I'm proud to come here, and I'm proud to be at games yelling with Bob all the time. So thank you as always for everything, Bob.
And we yell in words of encouragement to our players. We never yell at officials. That's something we never do. It's always an encouragement to our players. I just want to be clear about that. Because yelling could be taken so many different ways, right, Dan?
Well, I could say this, that when I coach soccer, my kids would say to me, they said, Coach, when you yell, you're encouraging us. They said, we got in trouble twice, and you sounded different. So they knew the difference between a yell and a yell. So, yeah, when I say Bob and I yell, we're always passionate and having fun. And when I say yell, I should say we're always very loudly encouraging LeMoyne. And it doesn't matter the sport. We've been sitting next to each other at so many different events. We've seen more wins than losses.
It's been fun. It's been a great 3 years.
So there's a lot to come, and I'm already excited about the next 3. But we gotta get into these postseasons now, and we gotta milk it while we have it. So as always, from Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne College, we hope to see you on Thursday, on Saturday, and all throughout these seasons as winter continues to roll on. Spring is already here. And you have been here. Thank you so much for your support. Please bring your family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, and neighbors and show them what it's like to be a part of the Finn family. There's no other way to simulate it. You're either part of the family or you can become part of the family. That's how we look at it. As always, Bob, fins up.
Fins up, Dan.
We'll talk with you all soon.
Look forward to it.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here where sports meets life. And I want to thank Bob Beretta, as always, for his time and for our coverage of the LeMoyne College Dolphins and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, giving us all that info and getting us excited for this Thursday, where we have a twofer this Thursday. This Thursday, tomorrow, for those of you watching and listening live, Thursday, February 15th, we have the first women's lacrosse game of the season. They're opening at home against Cal Berkeley. How about that, folks? The California Golden Bears are coming across the coast to LeMoyne on Ted Grant Field tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. So 1 p.m. tomorrow, LeMoyne Dolphins women's lacrosse returns to Division I. This is the cool thing about it. Baseball and women's lacrosse are the only two programs at LeMoyne that have ever competed as Division I programs. So they are returning to Division I, with LeMoyne becoming a fully fledged Division I institution for the first time ever. These two programs are going back to Division I. So we get to see Liz Bevel and her team this Thursday, February 15th, at Ted Grant Field in Syracuse, take on the California Golden Bears, who are coming coast to coast to face off against the LeMoyne Dolphins this Thursday, February 15th at 1 p.m. for the opening of the 2024 season for women's lacrosse and a return to Division I. And then later on that night at 7 p.m., we will see the men's basketball team take on Central Connecticut State. Central Connecticut State, they defeated on the road when Central Connecticut State was the number one team in the NEC. They've held true, being at the top of the NEC in men's basketball this season, and the LeMoyne Dolphins will get a crack at them for a second time, this time at home. So on Thursday, you have two awesome opportunities to be on the Heights, 1 o'clock outside for women's lacrosse and 7 o'clock inside for men's basketball. Then this Saturday, February 17th, is the massive men's basketball event that we just described that you don't want to miss. Speaking of men's basketball, something you didn't want to miss yesterday was watching that Syracuse North Carolina game and seeing how this Syracuse team played up against North Carolina. Huge, huge victory for the Orange. By far their best game of the season, a solid 40 minutes. And like I said, I'm going to be airing my specials with the gents today on social media after the show, so you'll be able to see my Q&A with Adrian Autry, the head coach, as well as student athletes JJ Starling, Malik Brown, Quadir Copeland, and Chris Bell, all joining Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora following this victory that ended with Syracuse fans storming the court at the Dome. And hope that everybody's safe and healthy and well, because when those storming the courts happen, you got to be careful, because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of bodies, there's a lot of movement. So hopefully everybody is okay this morning and continues to be well and stay well. Great sight to see. Great sight to, I don't remember the last time the fans stormed the court in the Dome. It's been a minute. And getting the fans involved. Maybe some more people will show up to games now. There's only 3 home games left this season for Syracuse Orange men's basketball. And taking a look at it here, is they have their next game is going to be February 24th, which is Jim Boeheim Day. They're going to honor Jim Boeheim when they face off against Notre Dame at noon Eastern time. Then they will play just a few days later on Tuesday, February 27th, when they face off against Virginia Tech at 7 p.m. And the last men's home game is going to be on, let's see here. It's going to be on, when is the last men's home game? Is that it? No, there's got to be another one here. I feel like I'm checking my calendar right now, and I'm thinking to myself, I know there's a game in March. So let me take a look at this really quick here. Let me double check myself here. But yes, their next 2 games are February 24th and February 27th. I could have sworn we had another one on the docket for men's basketball, but just a few more opportunities. The whole point of what I was saying was a few more opportunities for you to come to the Dome and celebrate these men's and women's basketball teams before they head to their ACC tournament locations and get ready for what's coming in the ACC tournament. So the men's team has those home games, and then that's it. Is that it? That's it. Oh, wow. There's only 2 left. I don't know why in my head I thought there was a third one. There's only 2 left because they're at Georgia Tech this Saturday, February 17th at 5:30, the men's team. Then on Tuesday, February 20th, they're at NC State. Then they're home in the game against Notre Dame on Jim Boeheim Day on Saturday, February 24th at noon Eastern Time. And then on Tuesday, February 27th, they're home against Virginia Tech at 7 p.m. Then they're at Louisville on March 2nd, and they are at Clemson on March 5th. I don't know what made me think there was another one there. So, yeah, you got 2 more home games. That's it to see Syracuse Orange men's basketball. The women's basketball team, which I talked about yesterday on the broadcast, their schedule, I want to let you know this really quick. You can go and see the women's basketball team for the Syracuse Orange, as they will have some opportunities here in the regular season before they finish things up. They're 20-4 right now, 10-3 in the ACC. They're in the upper echelon of the ACC standings in really good footing as they move forward here. And their games coming up, let's see here. They're on the road at Miami. They're on the road at Virginia. And then they're home against Duke on February 22nd, 2 days before the men's game. They're here Thursday, February 22nd at 7 p.m. Then on Sunday, February 25th at 2 p.m., they're against Pittsburgh at home. And then they end the regular season on the road at NC State in Raleigh, North Carolina, just to make a little mention of that. Plenty of stuff coming up, like I said, in my coverage of the men's basketball upset victory over North Carolina, who came into the game ranked 7th in the AP and 5th in the coaches poll, and was the number 1 team in the ACC with a record of 11-2. Like I said earlier on in the show, North Carolina only has 3 losses. 3 losses in 15 ACC games. Each team plays 20 ACC games. When we're talking about the men's basketball world, they play 20 ACC games. And in these 20 ACC games, we're looking at the fact that they've already played 15. They played 14. Pardon me on that. They played 14 because they're 11-3. Played 14 games, speaking of North Carolina. And in those 14 games, they've only lost 3 times. And in those 3 losses, they've all been to unranked teams. At Georgia Tech, home against Clemson, at Syracuse. North Carolina, who's considered to be one of the top 10 teams in the nation, has now lost to 3 unranked teams in their own conference of the ACC. Syracuse playing a complete 40 minutes, and it was the best shooting performance of any team going up against North Carolina since 2015, when North Carolina faced off against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh shot 64.4%. This game, Syracuse shot 63%, and it was the best performance that anybody has had offensively against North Carolina in 9 years. That's insane. Not 9 years in the conference, 9 years in general. 2015 was the last time a team shot 63% or better against North Carolina, and now it happened again last night. Syracuse just Malik Brown hitting 2 threes to start the game for the guy who's had to play center, even though he's a forward because of the depletion at the center position and all of that. So Malik Brown doing a ton of stuff. He's already done a million different things. Now we're seeing him shoot threes. J.J. Starling, he's been turning on in second halves. In this game, he was turning on all over the place, hitting big-time shots going inside, outside. Syracuse was able to. Now, they needed to guard the paint better, which is something we've talked about. They've needed to guard the baseline better, which is something we've talked about. And they needed to defend around the rim and get offense and get defensive rebounds and box out, which are things that they still need to work on. In this game, though, they were able to overcome those things that they need to work on by their fantastic shooting and the fact that down the stretch, their defense was incredible, including 3 takeaways late in the game on the same side of the court. Now, if you're behind the basket, it was on the left side of the court. If you're looking at the basket, it's the right side of the court. But right there by the sideline, Quadir Copeland, down the stretch, took the ball away 3 times. No fouls. 2 of them were reviewed, and Syracuse was given the ball. Another one Syracuse just had the ball. So Quadir Copeland, 3 different times late in the game, not called for a reach, got his steals on 3 possessions, crucial possessions, in the closing minutes of this game as North Carolina was trying to come back. Massive. Armando Bacot got called for a flagrant 1. That gave Syracuse 2 opportunities at the charity stripe because they were already in the bonus. So you see them shoot 2, then they got the ball back because you get to shoot your free throws and you get the ball back in a flagrant 1. And when they got the ball back, they got fouled. They made 3 of 4 free throws there. They won 86-79. My story is up on wakeupcalldt.com. And of course, like I said, my Q&As are going to be coming up today on all of our social media. Facebook at wakeupcalldt, X at calldt, Instagram at wakeupcall_dt, and of course on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Congratulations to Syracuse on their quad 1 win, their signature victory, their victory over the top team in the ACC, which begs the question, if North Carolina has now lost to unranked Georgia Tech, unranked Clemson, and unranked Syracuse, all within their own conference, why are they still ranked in the nation's top 10? It's the same question you ask when Kansas loses to UCF. How come they're not moving a lot in the rankings here nationally? And that's because the rankings, folks, because they're done by human beings, they are flawed. And they're, this season, though, there's none of those like undefeated teams at the top. There's no that 20-1 team or 19-2 or whatever it may be. There's no team like that right now. There's 4 losses, 5 losses, 6 losses. A lot of people losing, upset alerts all over the place, March Madness type field games happening in week 1 and all the way through. A lot of teams getting beat by teams that on paper you thought in recent years, in the past decade, 2, 3, 4 decades, they would have beaten by 20, 30 points. No, there's a lot of upsets going on, this being one of them, as Syracuse is not far away from 20 wins in Adrian Autry's first season as the head coach of the team, after serving as an assistant coach and then an associate head coach, the right-hand man to Jim Boeheim recently here. Well, now in his first season as a head coach, they're taking care of home, won all but 2 games on their home floor in the Dome, and are at 500 in the ACC now, at 7-7 with the victory over North Carolina. And they have now toppled North Carolina after losing to North Carolina by 30 and now getting to play North Carolina again and avenge that loss. Huge win for Syracuse and getting them closer to 20 wins, which used to be enough to get you in the tournament. If you got to 20 wins in the regular season and you had 2, 3, 4 quality wins, and you could get into the NCAA tournament. So times have changed in certain respects. In other respects, they haven't. Syracuse not out of it yet. The women's team is poised to be in the NCAA tournament if the season ended today, and the men's team is trying to make a case for themselves, playing their best basketball late, which is always what have you done for me lately when we look at this committee stuff. Playing their best basketball, I shouldn't say always, because the committee changes the rules every year so they can, I feel like if they want to get this team in, they'll argue it. If they don't want to get this team in, they'll argue that. And then 2 weeks ago, they were arguing the opposite. So it is flawed. It is definitely flawed, and I would love for there to be more impartiality, which is what I think is ever important. I was born and raised in Syracuse. I love my hometown, love my community, love the Syracuse Orange. I do, in the comfort of my own home. But I'm also honest. I'm very honest and impartial on my show. As a broadcaster, I can't sit here and say, I'm a Syracuse fan. Syracuse is going to win every game. I look at the game and I say, okay, Syracuse this season hasn't stacked up well against the best teams in the ACC. I don't think they stack up well against the Dukes and the North Carolinas and the Virginias and so on and so forth. They barely beat Louisville. Chris Bell had to go 8 for 10 from 3. But in this game, they made a statement. They played a full 40 minutes. They played together, which is something I repeated through the game. They played a full 40 minutes, and they played together. They stayed poised. They did what they needed to do, got some fundamentals and not just street ball, and they handled business. And they looked great. And see, this young team has those sparkles of what they could be. And so I hope they can get there this year. And if they can't, or if they don't get there this year, if they don't get, to that next step this year, then I think they're definitely going to be a dangerous team next season. So excited, not thinking about next season because we're in this season. And the Syracuse Orange men's and women's basketball teams pulling off awesome victories at home on their own floor. And they've done a great job on their home floor this season. The both of them have. So congratulations to Syracuse men's basketball and women's basketball for all that they've done and for the community support getting out there. And I love to see a storm the court. As long as it's safe, I love seeing those moments. Really special. And you can check out that video and my coverage and my story by going onto our social media and, of course, by going to wakeupcalldt.com. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, PJ joins the show right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, always having some fun where sports meets that thing called life. And a day early, I got the PJ with me, the grand old smooth one, the go-so, the Papa J, you know who he is, and PJ here with me, the future head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, depending on how this season goes. I would say that too. Papa Joe here with me on the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. A lot of great stuff coming up. And like I said, a day early, PJ is with me, typically with me every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on all of our wonderful channels, youtube.com, facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, which is live internet streaming radio. So that's our typical time that we're together. This week it's a day early, and happy to have you here on the broadcast with Papa Joe and myself here to talk about the Chiefs-Niners, as well as the Chiefs Dynasty, Pat Mahomes, Brock Purdy, as well as Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, and more, including the fact that Papa Joe was forced to watch commercial television, which he does not do. So, a lot of great stuff coming up here on the show. But before all of that, I got to say a go Gators to the Florida Gators defeat of LSU. I know he's excited about that, PJ. And Syracuse's defeat of North Carolina, handing North Carolina their third loss, as I said before the break, in the conference. They've now lost 3 games in the ACC, and all 3 of those games that North Carolina has lost are to unranked teams, including Syracuse, the other 2 being Georgia Tech and Clemson. 2 of those games being on the road, Clemson being at home. So it is a victory Wednesday for us, PJ. Congratulations on your Go Gators, and how are you this morning?
Very good, yes. Congratulations to SU. That was a gutted performance. And frankly, I think they'll be ranked. Florida should be ranked now, too, after a win over LSU when they beat Auburn 4 or 5 days ago, and Auburn was ranked. They won 7 out of 8 and actually beat 4 ranked teams. So I imagine they'll wind up in the top 25, too. But, all these teams got to prepare for the big dance, whoever's going to try to make it, and what it entails to do that.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do. I mean, even though 64 teams out of 200 get to go to the dance, it's still real hard to do, and even more hard to win and keep going.
Well, and the thing is, PJ, it's actually 68 out of over 330 teams now.
Oh, gee, that's ridiculous.
Over 330 teams. So if you would oblige me, can I woof about something for a second?
Pardon? Go ahead.
I said, can I woof about something for a second?
Sure.
All right. Well, I got to woof about this. So I'm going to be woofing about, here's some statistics for Syracuse in the game that I was at yesterday when the Syracuse Orange took down the North Carolina Tar Heels in the Dome. By the way, bunch of Tar Heel fans that were on site for this game. And I think that's because there's some people that live in central and upstate New York that are Tar Heels fans, because remember, before Syracuse joined the ACC, a lot of people in Syracuse did not like Duke, and so they became North Carolina fans. And I'm not going to say that's why they did it, but there's a lot of people that liked North Carolina back in the day. And North Carolina, when growing up in Syracuse, New York, Syracuse was my favorite. North Carolina was my second favorite team. So seeing the game last night, really cool. Got a lot of respect for Hubert Davis and Roy Williams, Dean Smith, and so on and so forth. This is what it looked like by the numbers. I want to woof about this thing for a second. Syracuse lost a game ago to Clemson after Clemson had turned the ball over 21 times and Syracuse turned it over 8. Typically, that's not only a victory, it's a pretty good margin of victory. 10 points, 15 points. That didn't happen in the game. In this game, let's take a look at the numbers. Syracuse playing a very short bench. The Syracuse Orange, Benny Williams, was dismissed from the program. Peter Carey has an undisclosed injury. And Syracuse's Naheem McLeod, their center that stands over 7 foot, has not been available. So, none of them were out there for the team. It doesn't seem like the coaching staff is in full faith of Munir Hima, who got some time in this game, but not a ton, only 6 minutes and 27 seconds. So Syracuse played with just 7 players, 2 off their bench, look like a typical Jim Boeheim lineup here, and in the sense of having a short bench. Malik Brown, Chris Bell, J.J. Starling, Judah Mintz, and Justin Taylor all started the game as they typically do. 4 out of 5 scored in double figures. Judah Mintz led everybody on the floor on both teams with 25. J.J. Starling's 23. Chris Bell had 13. Malik Brown had 14. Justin Taylor, the lone starter not in double digits, had 3 points. Quadir Copeland had 8 points. And Munir Hima had no points in this game. Actually, Munir Hima, being in the game for 6 minutes and 27 seconds, did not record a single stat. Didn't foul anybody, didn't block anybody, didn't turn the ball over, didn't seal the ball, didn't assist, didn't score, nothing. So he came off the game here in 6 minutes and 27 seconds with no statistics. Would be nice to see him kind of, them ramp him up and get him ready, because they definitely need a true center. And so Malik can play, in position. Malik Brown, a forward on the team, asked to play center. He comes out in this game and he hits 2 threes to start the game, which is atypical of him. He goes 2 for, because he doesn't really shoot them. So congratulations to him. He's done everything else. In this game, he went 4 for 4, including 2 for 2 from three-point range. Look at the shooting of Syracuse. Chris Bell, 5 for 11, 3 for 7 from 3. J.J. Starling, 9 for 15, 3 for 6 from 3. And Judah Mintz missed the only 3 he took, but he ended 8 of 11 from the floor. Fantastic shooting night. And just so you all know, this is the best, and I said this before the break, this is the best shooting that any team has had against North Carolina in 9 years. The last time that a team shot 63% or better against North Carolina was when the Pittsburgh Panthers did it back in 2015. Syracuse shot over 60% against this team, this North Carolina team, shot over 60% in both halves. That was also the last time that happened, was in 2015 in that same game against Pitt. So think about the history. In 9 years leading up to this point, nobody had shot 63% or better against North Carolina in a game, and nobody had shot 60% or better in both halves of a game since that same game for Pittsburgh against North Carolina. Syracuse did that, 63% in the first half, 61.9 in the second half, and just shy of 63% for the game, 62.5. And the Pittsburgh game, Pittsburgh shot 64.4% in that game. When we look at three-point field goals, Syracuse was 4 for 8 in the first half, 4 for 9 in the second half, 13 for 21 on field goals in total in the second half, which I mention especially because it's my grandpa and my number together again, and 17 of 27 in the first half. Syracuse also shot 80% from the charity stripe in the first half and 70% in the second half, which is improvement for them over the game to shoot 72% from the charity stripe, above 70%. At one point, I believe they were above 80% from this in the game. So looking at how it all went down, they both had 15 turnovers. They both had 32 points in the paint. Second chance points, North Carolina had more because Syracuse still needs to learn how to box out, 18-3. Fast breaks, North Carolina 18-9. Bench scoring 10-8. North Carolina led in all of those categories. However, Syracuse led in the game, won 86-79, and a congratulations to the Syracuse Orange on a full 40 minutes of play and the best shooting that anyone's had against North Carolina in 9 years. I had to woof about it.
That's good. Those are good stats. I'm sure Syracuse will grow from this and perhaps maybe get a few more players that will play. You know, you got to have 8 or 9 guys in the rotation. You can't do it. UConn women are going through a terrible time now because of all their injuries, and every year Vino Armorena has a really, really good team, if not a great team.
Yeah.
He's forced to play 7 players, and 4 of them were freshmen.
Yeah.
So they get blown out by South Carolina a couple days ago, but it's to be expected. Paige Bucher can't run the team by herself, playing with 4 freshmen. So, hey, this is a tough learning experience for all the people, including UConn, Syracuse, and Florida. So let's hope that they all reach their destination.
Yeah, let's hope that they get to where they need to go and get through the stuff that they can't control and get through the stuff that they can control as they get set for the rest of the season. God bless for every team out there. Over 300 when it comes to Division I men's basketball, over 300 for women's basketball. But get this, Papa Joe, some people don't know. I think a lot of people don't know this. In Division III, when you're talking about Division III men's basketball, I was speaking with Jason Leone, who I've had on the show for many years, and we break bread at Mother's Cupboard and do a segment called From Mother's Cupboard to Table with many wonderful guests, including Jason Leone, the Oswego State Lakers men's basketball head coach. They've been ranked in the top 10 nationally multiple times this season, and him and I were discussing this within the past few years. In Division III men's basketball, there are over 40 conferences and over 400 teams trying to make less than 70 spots every single year.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. I didn't think there were that many colleges in the country that had basketball like that.
And when you think about that, PJ, not only has Oswego State made it, but they made it as an at-large team. it is extremely difficult to make it as an at-large team with over 40 conferences, but the SUNYAC has gotten respect, and so has Oswego State, and they've made it multiple times as an at-large team, and the percentage of teams that make it outside of automatic bids as at-large is extremely, extremely rare and small, so it says a lot about that team in Oswego here in the great state of New York. So,
Okay.
with that being said, PJ's like, whatever, football. So, like, getting, it's 10:21 this morning. Shout out to all the basketball love. To talk about football here with Papa Joe, Chiefs and the Niners, PJ, I'm just going to broad paintbrush this thing and let you run with it. What were your thoughts of the game? You watched it from start to finish. The Kansas City Chiefs have now won back-to-back Super Bowls. They've won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. There's now 3 Super Bowl rings on the finger, will be on the finger when that one is ordered and set, but 3 Super Bowl rings for Pat Mahomes in 6 seasons as a starter. He's never made it to less than the conference championship game in all 6 seasons that he's been the starter. The numbers call for, and I said it after he got his 2nd Super Bowl, the numbers are stating that he is on track to potentially be the greatest ever. He's on track to potentially win the most Super Bowls ever. Brady's 7-3 in Super Bowls, played in 10, won 7 of them. Looking at, and he won the last one against Pat Mahomes when he was the Tampa Bay quarterback. But looking at Pat Mahomes, 6 years as a starter, 6 straight conference championship games, 5 times in the Super Bowl in 6 years, winners of 3 of those 5, and winners of back-to-back for the first time since the Patriots did it.
He's an extraordinary athlete, no question about that. We knew that coming in, and to follow his progression through the pros, it just gets better and better every year. He is. I know that Mr. Wilkes, who's the defensive coordinator for San Francisco, that the biggest problem he had with Patrick is that he moves so much. He doesn't run when he has to break the pocket. He doesn't run. He moves within the pocket, and his defensive guys are chasing him around all the time. I mean, look, Bosa is a big man. He doesn't want to chase Mahomes all over the damn place, and that's what guys do. He doesn't run unless it's absolutely mandatory that he does. But he moves in the pocket around so much that the defense just gets tired. And boy, those guys were blown, I'll tell you, at the end of the game. So it was a great game to watch, and I think the rest of the country, including fellow professional athletes, can now say that the questions are answered about Brock Purdy. The man's a baller. No doubt about it. If you had any doubt about what he was about, you don't know football. Because this kid's a winner and going to be a winner from San Francisco. They just got to find the right pieces to get over that hump. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it next year and the same 2 teams are playing. It all depends on the attrition. Unfortunately, at the end of seasons like this, even the Super Bowl games, a lot of these guys are going to be released or they're not going to be signed because they're not under a cap or whatever the hell it is. So the teams probably are going to look a little different, but San Francisco certainly has the core to keep going with the offensive tackle Trent Williams being the real key. Remember CMC saying, I don't run anywhere behind Mr. Williams, and that's just what he does. So, they got these guys. They got Kittles and Purdy and Pacheco and Williams and so on. They have enough to keep going. I think Kyle Shanahan's a good coach, not a great coach, but a good coach. And I think that he's maybe misunderstood on what happened here with the overtime. Some of the players saying they didn't know the overtime rules. Well, they don't need to know them. The coach needs to know them. Right. And the coach went over this stuff with his staff. I can't fault Coach Kyle for taking the ball in overtime. If you're playing overtime against Kansas City, what the hell are you going to do? You're going to defer? No, you're not going to defer. You're going to take the ball. You're going to take the ball and try to score. Unfortunately, when you're 3rd and 4 and down by near the goal line, and you don't give the ball to CMC or something wrong somewhere. But he had to eat that, and of course, had to kick the field goal, and the rest is history. So, Kyle Shanahan, you're okay, bud. You're okay. I mean, I don't know what other people try to read into that, but the rules are the rules, and if both teams get to have the ball, no matter what, you got to score in your first time going down there, and it needs to be a touchdown. If you're the second team going down there and you score a touchdown, then you need to go for 2-point conversion to win it. So what's to talk about here? He did the right thing. He didn't score the touchdown, and he got beat.
Yeah.
Other than that, Mahomes was very efficient throwing the ball, 330-something yards. He had Coach Reid sometimes says he's a real cerebral coach. And Coach Reid sometimes is too good. He's too smart for his own good. And what I mean by that is that he had to come. He said he wanted to come up with something different in the first half. Well, whatever he came up with didn't work because they weren't moving the ball, and I could sense frustration on the team's faces. That's for sure. And of course, the outburst by Kelce, which was uncalled for, but we'll get to that later. And when the second half occurred, I think Coach Reid realized that the only way he's going to win is to go back to what he did to win the conference. You got to count on Pacheco. You got to count on Kelce has got to be involved in the offense. You can't shut out a guy like him for the first half and expect to gain any points.
Yeah.
You're not going to. Coach Reid did the right thing. Kelce obviously got involved with 9 catches for over 90 yards. And Pacheco moved the ball a little bit. So with Mahomes in the backfield and having the ability to change plays when he has to, it's okay. In the second half, he didn't have to change too many plays because Coach Reid was really on target. And that was the story of the game. Coach Wilkes for San Francisco just couldn't stop him. Mahomes, so we've said this so many times with Mahomes. He's extraordinary. His field vision is so good, and his ability to sense things and move out of the pocket is unquestionable. He's brilliant. Purdy is the same kind of quarterback. He moves in the pocket too. He senses it. He'll move out and move in, move up, down, around, wherever he doesn't need to get sacked, and tries to complete a pass. So these two guys, it was a great game. The first half sucked, really, frankly. It was terrible. And then the second half occurred, and Joe and I looked at each other, and the pass was starting to go to the Kelce, and I said, all right, they're on their way. And that's what happened.
Yeah, the reality of it all is the Kansas City Chiefs are that team that always seems to be playing chess, right? And that chess that they seem to be playing here is you kind of liken it. And one of my buddies said this to me is, you liken it to a boxing match where a guy thinks he's winning and he kind of, guy, girl thinks they're winning. They're smirking, right? Because they're hitting you. And you're just taking that hit, tiring them out. Letting them stretch out their arms, try to make that blow, fully extend, just give all the power they have, and then you just bide your time, you take those blows and you knock them out. It's exactly what Kansas City did. They moved extremely efficiently the later we got into the game. They moved very efficiently in overtime, almost like this was just like a textbook practice thing. It was like short pass to Kelce, short pass to Pacheco, short pass to Kelce, move it down, get everybody focusing on Kelce in the red zone, get everybody focusing on Pacheco in the red zone, and then throw to one of your guys that a lot of people don't key in on, and a lot of people leave in single coverage and don't really think he's getting the ball, and all Mecole Hardman had to do was catch it because he was wide open, because they play chess. And so getting to one of the points you brought up here about the postseason. Now, it says that before the San Francisco 49ers started their postseason run, Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, sat down with the team analytics staff and went through the scenarios if a game reached overtime. Now, the NFL installed rules for the postseason in March 2022 that would allow for each team to get a possession regardless of what the team with the ball first does, unless there's a defensive score. So, if a team, if you fumble or they intercept it and they run it back or whatever, a safety and whatnot, then the game would be over, because essentially once the first team doesn't score, the game is in sudden death. The way that overtime works and has worked in the past when it comes to the regular season and the postseason, it used to be the same. Well, first and foremost, it used to be whoever scored the game was over. And now it turned into the rule a few years back was if the first team scores a field goal, then the second team can try to tie and score a field goal or win with a touchdown, but they had the chance to get the ball. So if I'm the first team, I get the ball, I'm San Francisco, I kick a field goal, you got an opportunity to kick a field goal if you're Kansas City, and then after that, it's the next score wins. Well, what it became a couple seasons ago, we saw the Bills play the Chiefs, and it was a shootout. And it was just pound for pound, Mahomes, Allen, and the game could have probably gone on for another couple possessions, another hour or so, and Josh Allen never got the ball back. And after that, they decided to change the rule, and it's unfortunate, but rules typically come from when something happens that people think, wow, that's not good, that's not fair, and then they change a rule, and you can't retroactively help a team or a player out, but the rule was meant to help for the future. So that rule gets put into place, and they say, okay, in the postseason, this is what it's going to look like. In the postseason, if the first team scores a field goal, the second team can answer with a field goal. If they score a touchdown, they win. But the new ruling was if the first team scores a touchdown, you have a chance to answer with that touchdown. So this is how it works. The first team that possesses the ball, if they give it up and there's a defensive score, the game's over. The team that got the score on defense wins. In this case, it would have been Kansas City. That's a rule that's there. Another rule to understand is once you don't score as the first team that possessed the ball, the next score wins, whatever that score is. So the game, sudden death, whatever you want to call it, if the first team doesn't score, then the next score wins, be it by the next team that possesses the ball or when the other team gets the ball back, whatever it is. If you don't score on that first possession, if you're the team that gets the ball in overtime first, the next score wins. The field goal to field goal, and then the next score wins, and now it's the touchdown to touchdown, and the next score wins. So that created that opportunity. Now, if if San Francisco had scored a touchdown and kicked an extra point, and Kansas City scored a touchdown and had a 2-point conversion, the game's over. Because they would both have a touchdown, but Kansas City would have one extra point. So the only thing that changed about the rule for postseason overtime was if you score a touchdown as the first team, and it's not a touchdown against it, but the first team that possesses the ball, if they score a touchdown, then the second team that possesses the ball had an opportunity to get the ball back and try and equal out that touchdown or get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. They had the opportunity to get the ball back because in the past it was if you score a touchdown, the game's over in overtime and that's it. And now it's no. If the first team possesses it, scores a touchdown, second team can do that. So just to clarify all the rules here, because back in the day, former Syracuse quarterback Donovan McNabb with the Eagles said that he didn't understand overtime back when the rules are different. So I want to make sure that I spell those out completely, truly, and echo those here this morning on the show because the rules were changed in March 2022, and that came after that Kansas City Buffalo Bills matchup. So with that being said, now we're looking at the most recent Super Bowl, Super Bowl 58, and multiple 49ers said after the game they were not aware of the overtime setup. Shanahan said that on Tuesday he had laid out a plan with his staff before the playoffs began. He said he also instructed his assistant coaches to let the team know before the overtime period started, but did not feel the need to discuss the plan with his team before that point. He said, quote, "We told everyone as we were waiting for the coin toss to review everyone to make sure they're sure before we go out. So we asked position coaches to do that, but I didn't cover it in a meeting on the Super Bowl week. I don't think that changes anything," end quote. So essentially what I'm reading here is Kyle Shanahan had a discussion with his assistant coaches and then told his assistant coaches to relay that discussion to the players, and maybe they did and maybe they did not. Here's what I don't understand. They say that head coaches now aren't necessarily head coaches in the NFL and in college football, but they're general managers or they're CEOs. Here's my issue. When you say to somebody, hey, go take all this information and give it, why is Kyle Shanahan not meeting with the whole team in the team room? You should be doing that, okay? You sit down with the team. You say, hey, guys, here's all the information. Because this is the telephone game. So even if your assistant coaches went and told each of their positions the information about the overtime rules, they could all say it differently. One of them could have forgotten something. One of them could have forgotten about the touchdown thing that changed in March 2022. One of them could have forgotten that a defensive score would win the game. Whatever it may be, Kyle Shanahan or any coach in a situation, especially in a championship game, should be having a meeting with your entire team, get everybody on the same page and answer questions. This whole notion of, I told my staff is supposed to tell my players. Well, they're your players, so you're supposed to tell them. Now I understand the micromanaging side of it, and people saying, well, Dan, he trusted the coaches. But listen, you should be having a team meeting with your entire team, and during that team meeting with the entire team, you should cover all of the major bases that affect the entire team. I don't understand why that would even be something to be brought into question of whether or not somebody should do that. Now, multiple 49ers said that whether they knew the specifics of the rule or not did not change the fact that they needed to try to score on offense and get a stop to beat the Chiefs. So they knew that. Now, quarterback Brock Purdy said quarterbacks coach Brian Griese did indeed give him a heads up on the rules at the end of regulation. Quote, he explained the rules to me and everything, so I had an understanding of it, end quote. Now, whether or not they knew the rule, now I agree that Kyle Shanahan should have had a conversation with everybody. Now, it says that his discussion with the team analytics staff indicated it would be best to take the ball first, because if both teams match scores on their opening drives, the Niners would get the ball to open the portion of overtime in which the first team to score would win, which, as I told you, is sudden death. So, okay. And Shanahan explained that those discussions took place before the playoffs, but he wanted to remain flexible depending on how the game was playing out, which is totally understandable. So he said, quote, I always make the decision in the heat of battle with that information. If it was like the Super Bowl the year before, the one that seemed more like a shootout, I think I might have felt a little bit differently. But having that information going in the way ours was going, I didn't feel differently. I felt accurate with what they recommended, end quote. He indicated that he might have taken the ball second, where he would have known exactly what he needed to do to win the game. So, I mean, the reality of it all is he's got to talk to his team. You can't trust you want to be able to trust your assistants to do it, and it's not even about trusting your assistants to do it. It's one, telephone game, and two, you got to have this in your main meeting with your team. You got to say, hey, guys, the game's in a couple of days, just so you all know, here are some rules that affect us all. And this is just some information. It's not a conversation that even has to be a long time. It's a quick conversation. The other part of this is whether or not he sat down and told his team, they got to play football. So the fact that we're sitting here having a discussion of, well, they shouldn't have taken the ball first, that doesn't guarantee that they would have won. And Kansas City had the momentum going into overtime, so why would you want them to take the ball again? Now, you could argue that you could say, well, they should take the ball again because their offense was just on the field, so maybe their offense is a little bit gassed. But in the same respect, you could say San Francisco took the ball so that their defense could have a break. But whatever it is and whatever the analytics are, the reality of it all is simply this. Before all these rules happened, what did you have to do? You had to line up on the field, stop the team in front of you, and score to win the game. So this whole notion of they would have won if they didn't take the ball first is BS, because the reality of the fact is simply this. It is a chess game. It is an analytical game to a certain extent, but you got to put on the pads, get on the field, and you got to play the game. You can run as much as you want to run, watch as much film as you want to watch, lift as much as you want to lift. You can do everything you need to do, but when it comes to the grand scheme of it all, you have to get on the field, play the game, and win the game. You cannot simulate the game. You cannot simulate what's going to happen. You can anticipate, but you cannot simulate it to perfection. So, PJ, I mean, I agree he should have talked to his team. It should have been him. But at the same time, I don't understand why this is such a, oh my goodness, look at how much they screwed up in taking the ball in overtime, when the fact of the matter is simply this. If Kansas City scored first, San Fran would have to score. If San Fran scored first, they would have to hold. No matter how we look at this thing, San Francisco would have to score and prevent Kansas City from scoring So I don't know why there's so much emphasis on this when you got to line up and play the game, and Kansas City played a better game.
Sure, it's well said, and there's nothing really to argue about here for the people that want to argue about it. So Shanahan maybe delegated it to his assistants, and maybe some of the guys forgot it, but it's not a big deal. They wanted the ball first to score. You said it good. You're not going to give Kansas City the ball first. Come on now. People, you got to think about this. So what about if he didn't tell his players? If you got the ball on the flip, you got to score a touchdown. That was the problem. He didn't score a touchdown. And he made a mistake down by the goal line when he's 3rd and 4, not to get CMC involved, and then he's got to kick the field goal. That was the only problem he had. It wasn't that he got the ball first or Kansas City gets the ball second. Now, he was probably pooping his pants on the sidelines, knowing that he's only got a field goal, and you got Patrick Mahomes going to roar down the field. That's what his problem was. So it was a good game. I mean, it was all well played. The second half, the first game, I said stuck. So, but it was a good game, and the offense of Kansas City finally got together. And I like what they did, and they got the only person they didn't get involved really. Well, I thought more was Rice, the wideout. I thought maybe they could have stretched the field a little bit with him, but he counted on Kelsey in the second half, and he came through. So the best team won on that Sunday. I'm not sure that they're a better team than San Francisco, but they won, and they're the champions, and that's the way it is.
And here's some information about the game itself. This was the longest Super Bowl game by time in history. Super Bowl 58 was. It also was the most watched program, not in Super Bowl history, not in NFL history. This year's Super Bowl, Super Bowl 58 between the Chiefs and the Niners, is the most watched program in the history of television. According to Nielsen and Adobe Analytics, the Chiefs San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl 58 averaged 123.7 million viewers across television and streaming platforms. That shattered last year's mark of 115.1 million for Kansas City versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The game was televised by CBS, as my mom knows, Nickelodeon, and Univision, and streamed on Paramount Plus, as well as the NFL's digital platforms. Nielsen also said a record 202.4 million watched at least part of the game across all networks, a 10% jump over last year's figure of 183.6 million. The CBS broadcast averaged 120.3 million for itself. The network's previous mark for its most watched Super Bowl was 112.34 million for the 2016 Super Bowl between the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. So we take a look at this and how everything is counted. Nielsen began including out-of-home viewers in its ratings in 2020, but only from limited markets. That measurement expanded to all 50 states beginning this year. Sunday's game was only the second of the 58 Super Bowls to go to overtime. The previous one was in 2017 when the New England Patriots rallied to defeat the Atlanta Falcons 34-28 after being down 28-3. And I believe that was also a game that Kyle Shanahan was in, so as the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. So just to make a note of this, few things to think about, PJ. What are your thoughts on Kyle Shanahan ending the game? This is yet another game where Kyle Shanahan is on the sideline and the team doesn't close it out. A few years ago with the Kansas City Chiefs going up against them in the Super Bowl, this one going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I said, we go back to the only overtime. This is not a good stat to have. The only other overtime game in 58 Super Bowls, there's been 2 of them. Kyle Shanahan's the head coach of San Fran. He loses. Before this, Kyle Shanahan's the offensive coordinator of the Falcons. They lose a 28-3 lead and lose the game 34-28. What are your thoughts on the fact that Kyle Shanahan has been on the sideline in the only 2 Super Bowls to go to overtime, and he was a coordinator in one, a head coach in another, but on the losing side in both?
Well, it sounds like in Atlanta, the defense fell apart, so that's too bad. I think he's probably the offensive coordinator there, so That's not his bad. Kyle Shanahan is one of these young cerebral coaches. You heard him use the term analytical. I don't know why these kids don't just look at the game and get a feel for the game and figure out how to play it. Why do they have to have all this analytical bunch? I don't get it. Andy Reid, you think he gives a damn about analytics? He's been a coach longer than half of the kids that he's been playing were born. So where's the mystery here? You learn the game, you play the game, you coach the game, you develop your own habits, you develop your own game plans. You know the game. You don't need analytics to be told that. I go crazy with baseball. It's the same way. All of these managers now are young managers who played the game, and they're using analytics instead of getting the feel for the game. Well, I don't like it. I think that Shanahan probably he just screwed up. That's all. He just screwed up. He's not a bad coach. I mean, gosh. I mean, if he lost a 28-3 lead, it wasn't his offense that lost the game. It was his defense. And if he was the offensive coordinator, that's not his bad. In this particular case, he probably should have called a different play down there by the goal line. Maybe tried to get if CMC could get around then or up the middle or something to get a first down, then they would have scored a touchdown and the whole game would have changed. The only way I fault Coach Shanahan was there, not with the coin flip or anything like that. That's all.
Well, and you say, hey, the defense, when he was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta, they gave up that game to the Patriots, but you can also argue that Shanahan's offense went stale. So, there's that side to it too, that they did well. I mean, the thing is, and talking to Anthony Campbell from GG Cards and Breaks, who I appreciate very much, he's a huge Niners fan, and he talked to me multiple times this season about the inability of his belief of you just looking at Kyle Shanahan not being able to close out games. And like I said, on Wake Up Call, we don't do witch hunts, so I'm not here to attack anybody. I'm just speaking on something that's happening with Kyle Shanahan. Do you think his job is in any threat? I mean, he's been to a couple Super Bowls in the last 5 years. He hasn't won them, but do you think that there is any hot seat to a coach that just doesn't seem to finish out a game with a victory?
No, I don't agree with that. The guy's a good coach. He's a great offensive mind. Now he's got the pieces on the offensive side to keep going. He's got a young, dynamic quarterback. He's got the best running back in the league. Maybe some of the people that are listening are the ones that watch Super Bowl. You got to go back a long time to the Buffalo Bills back decades ago. When they went to the Super Bowl, they lost 4 Super Bowls. Marv Levy was the coach back then. Another old-time great coach. He was a great coach, period.
Yeah.
And he was chastised because he couldn't win the Super Bowl. He lost it 4 times. Hey, that's tough. That's tough. But to say he's not a good coach, no, that's not right either. He didn't have the right pieces, and he couldn't figure it out. I mean, the good coaches figure it out. Coach Reid figures it out. Nick Saban figures it out. Kirby Smart figures it out. These guys know what to do. And Kyle Shanahan, as smart as he is, he's got to figure it out himself. And when he gets in this situation again, I truly believe that I think it'll go in his favor.
That coming from Papa Joe. PJ, before we take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with Papa Joe, a day early, typically with us Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and he is with us Wednesday for this week. PJ, as I speak about this being the most watched television anything ever, more than The Bachelor, more than any of those great old State of the Union addresses that always come at the most inopportune time, more than TGIF, more than the O.J. Simpson chase, all of this, looking throughout history, the most watched, more than the Princess Diana stuff, God rest in peace. This is the most watched television event ever. You don't watch commercial television. You had to watch commercial television this time around. Did you watch any of the commercials? Did you like any of the commercials? Did you realize that they ran out of commercials? Because I know you're not a commercial guy, but the commercials right now, PJ, cost $7 million for 30 seconds. So did you watch them?
Well, I suppose I'm going to have to say yes, because I had my wife and her friend Mary and my daughter-in-law Carla and Joe were all sitting there watching it. And of course, when the timeout comes out, I just can't get up and start running around. I have to sit on the couch and listen to these stupid things. I thought they were atrocious. The one that I thought was the best was the one on God, the one on Jesus Christ. That's the only one that I would think that made any sense in a situation where the consumers in this country have got to pay outrageous amounts of money to buy a product from the company that spends $7 million for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't go for it. It's awful.
When I look at it like this, PJ.
Now the worst commercial, I do have to say, I think the worst commercial was Arnold in State Farm. Arnold, you're past your prime, bro. Get off the damn TV. You can't do anything right anymore. That was a terrible commercial.
Well, I will say this to all the companies during inflation in America that have raised their prices, claiming that they have to. If you can buy a $7 million commercial for 30 seconds, you're not hurting for money as much as you say you are, and your prices should be lower. I will say that. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside to take a fast break with companies that actually don't charge an arm and a leg and treat us well here in Central and Upstate New York. Those wonderful companies that I appreciate and respect, because we don't just work with anybody. We work with good people, and we work with people that care. We work with people that are fair. We work with people that appreciate their guests that come through their stores and their locations and go and visit them online. They're coming up right now, and then PJ and I will talk. Are the Chiefs a dynasty? Is Pat Mahomes on pace to be the greatest ever? And is Brock Purdy finally going to shed that stupid title of Mr. Irrelevant? All of that's coming up right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, what a perfect time to talk about them, right? Not that there's ever a bad time to talk about GG Cards and Breaks. They always bring something to the table. And as we're sitting here this morning speaking on the championship game and the Chiefs and the Niners, you can go in and get those cards. You can go in and get your Pat Mahomes and your Brock Purdy's while supplies last. You can get some packs and boxes and try your luck to see if you can pull one yourself. Maybe you get a downtown one. That would be huge, right? So you have the opportunity to go and find the teams and the players that you love at GG Cards and Breaks. They just got a whole new supply of singles that are going to be there for you. They have graded cards. They have packs and boxes, constantly bringing in new product all the time. You never know what you're going to get. You go in on Monday and by Tuesday, and I literally lived this last week. I asked for something on Tuesday. They didn't have it. Thursday, they had it. Thursday, they're like, oh, yeah, this is here. Just so you know, let you look at it. They were sending some stuff to get graded, but it was Caitlin Clark, and I ended up pulling a Caitlin Clark in my most recent box break. I got a Caitlin Clark card, so very excited to have that. GG Cards and Breaks for all of your needs, as well as all the things to protect your cards, from your top loaders and your sleeves to your binders, as well as your one-touch cases and more. You can, and your boxes to put all your cards in. You can find everything in one place with people that care and really love the hobby at GG Cards and Breaks. Open 7 days a week on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's Valentine's Day. And my mom always would go and like grab me a pack of cards and stuff and put it in my Valentine's Day or my Easter Easter basket or whatever it may be. So make sure you go out there today, get a little sweet treat for your loved ones, and get them something at GG Cards and Breaks, with the same hobby we've had for decades, making new memories every single day. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we got a few more minutes with PJ. So PJ, let's jump right into it. I made mention of this. Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, 6 seasons that Pat Mahomes has been the starter. Came into the league in 2017. Became the starter in the 2018-19 season. In all 6 seasons as a starter, he's made it to the conference championship game, a.k.a. the door of the Super Bowl, all 6 years. In those 6 years, he's made it to 5 Super Bowls. In those 5 Super Bowls, he's won 3. In the last 2 years, he's won back-to-back. So, are the Chiefs officially a dynasty?
Oh, yeah, I think you'd have to say that. Whether he's the greatest of all time, the GOAT, that's remains to be seen. You know, the best player we know that's ever played the game and put on a uniform was Tom Brady, and I don't think his accomplishments are ever going to be reached. I mean, no offense to Mr. Mahomes and Mr. Reid, this is not going to happen. I mean, there's too many variables in the football pro league to try to figure things out that they can win on a course like that. I can't see that happening. They can keep winning, sure, and maybe win another Super Bowl or 2 or something like that. But for Patrick to win 7 Super Bowls, I think it's a long shot. I mean, that's not to say he's not an extraordinary, which I've said several times. I mean, he is. He's a one of a kind, and he's besides him being smart, he's got all the physical tools. And he can throw the ball on so many different angles, you know. And I think they certainly are a dynasty, no question about that. Going back to the days of the Dallas Cowboys with Troy Aikman. Let's see what their roster is going to look like after all this shakes down.
Yeah.
And see how many players they got to release, or how many they're going to try to draft, or are they going to, buy someone? Are they going to trade for someone? You don't know that. I would think that they're a dynasty, and we'll have to see how things shake out. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, here's the question, though. Does Pat Mahomes have to win 8 Super Bowls to be considered the greatest ever? Tom Brady went to 10 in his career. He won 7 of them, but the last one that he won was head-to-head against Pat Mahomes. So does Pat Mahomes have to win 8? Or if he wins, let's say he's just won 2 in a row, let's say he wins 2 more in a row, so he's won 4 in a row, then are we, is there a way to call him the greatest without him winning 8, or does he have to win 8 Super Bowls?
That's a good question. Now, if he wins a bunch of most valuable players, then certainly he can reach that level. I don't think you need to win all the Super Bowls if you're a most valuable player. Again, there's too many variables. Right. If he's a 4 or 5-time most valuable player in the league, like Aaron Rodgers, then yeah, he's right up there. You never hear us talk about Aaron Rodgers being the greatest of all time, even though he's won 4 most valuable players. Well, I think Mahomes is going to be put in that same category. If he wins maybe 5 or 6 most valuable players, he certainly should be held in the high esteem. But he's going to have to go some to win more than 7 Super Bowls.
Yeah, and we got some thoughts that came in here. I want to get to them. So Ann Ann said Taylor Swift had a lot to do with the most rated viewers. And, my thing is, okay, I mean, the Swifties are watching a watch, whatever. I mean, I feel like, the more the merrier, but love the football game. It should be the focus. Arnold was awesome, said my big brother Joe. Ann said Reese's Cup commercial was funny. And they did start the Reese's Cup promotions before the Super Bowl, which is kind of cool. They're like, yeah, we're going to change the Reese's Cup, and people were freaking out. And now they're going to put caramel on the Reese's Cup, but they're not going to change them all. Ann went on to say, as a longtime 49ers fan, by the way, Ann, thank you for tuning in. As a longtime 49ers fan, this loss really stings. Any team that underestimates Mahomes is just ignorant. 49ers gave Mahomes too much time to repeat what he does best. Take control, run down the field, and execute a clutch win. And yeah, like I said, it looked like they were playing, it looked like they were in a boxing match and they were letting themselves get punched so they can come back for the knockout. It looked like they were playing chess, not checkers. And did you realize that the most efficient drive that they had was the last drive of the game to win the game? So you look at the Chiefs that have never really been out of too many games this year, and they've been able to lean on defense, and they haven't had to score a ton of points in this game. What did I say this year? I said in the beginning of October, this team's going to rely on winning between 20 and the mid-20s. And what do they get to win? 25. What did I say in the beginning of October? That number, between 20 and mid-20s. And what do they get? The middle of the 20s at 25. So they've been able to rely on their defense. They've been able to lean on that. They haven't had to score a ton, but they've had to score enough. And, again, when you look at the Patriots would outlast you. They were never out of a game. And now when we look at the dynasty of the Chiefs will outlast you. They're never out of a game. That's just reality. They're never truly out of it because they know the things they need to do. They keep themselves in the game. It's like they're playing with everybody. They want to give you false hope. They want you to believe you can win, and then they punch you in the mouth. The Kansas City Chiefs went from the underdog to the top dog. They went from being, David to a lot of people to now they're Goliath that somebody's trying to take down. The Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty, and Pat Mahomes could go down as the greatest ever. I think his talents are different than Brady. You don't see Brady throw right-handed, left-handed, run all over the field, lose 20 yards, but still somehow not lose anything. The passes that Pat Mahomes makes and the things that Pat Mahomes does, he's a different type of talent than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady did beat him head-to-head, and so we'll see how things go on here. But good problem for the Kansas City Chiefs to have, because not too long ago, I think around 2007, this team was a 4-12 and 2-14 team. There was a span of 3 seasons where they went 4-12, 2-14, 4-12. For those of you playing the home game, that's 10 wins, folks, and 38 losses in 3 seasons. Now they're the team that's been to 3 Super Bowls in 5 years with a quarterback that's only 6 years a starter and has been to the Super Bowl 5 times in the 6 years he's been a starter, won 3 of them, and won back-to-back, which is extremely, extremely difficult just to get there, let alone to win it. He's not the GOAT, but he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is on his way there to potentially being in the conversation of being the greatest ever. He is one of the greatest ever. And I will say this, and I mentioned this earlier this week, there is a beautiful statistic that only 5 quarterbacks can talk about. Now, the NFL has been around for decade upon decade. There's thousands of quarterbacks in NFL history, but there's only 5 that can tell you what I'm about to tell you. 5. 5 quarterbacks in NFL history have won 3 Super Bowls or more. Only 5. Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes. Thoughts, PJ?
Oh, that's the best. I mean, those guys are the best. When we ended our show last week, I sent you a little note about what you should tell their listeners on Friday's show. I told you to tell them that the most valuable player of that game is going to be Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for Kansas City. And I still believe that. Because after Purdy had gone down the field and scored the first touchdown and they were racking him up, not only did Reid have to come up with something offensively in the second half Spagnuolo had to stop these guys, and he did. And cheers to him. The guy, I think he's a hell of a coach. He was a head coach for a number of years for various teams, and maybe that's not his calling, but he sure is a hell of a defensive coordinator.
Yeah. No, Steve Spagnuolo, and that's the thing. These coaches that were head coaches that become coordinators again, sometimes you find out they're better as coordinators, and a guy like Steve Spagnuolo, give credit to him with the work that he's done and what he's put forward as the Kansas City Chiefs win another one. Before we hop out of here, PJ, two things that we got to get to: Andy Reid and Brock Purdy. I'll start with Andy Reid first. Andy Reid, where does he stack up in coaches all time?
No, I love Reid. He's fun to watch. His expression never changes. Every once in a while he'll slap a guy in the butt or something like that, but man, he's focused. And I imagine his meetings before the game and during the week probably are a lot to behold. I think he's got a unique sense of humor because we've seen him on some commercials that are really, really cool. If State Farm wanted to do some more commercials, they should do more with him. And, of course, Mahomes and so on. Andy Reid, he's been around for years. I mean, he probably should retire, just like the grumpy lobster bowl captain, but I think he still wants to go. I think he's going to run the gamut with Mahomes. I think he's going to stay in the game as long as Mahomes is doing what he's doing. And it'll come at a time when he'll say that he can't do it anymore. Now, Purdy, listen, folks, you got to understand the game of football. I mean, some of these people say all sorts of stupid things about Mr. Irrelevant and this and that and this and that. The guys that are playing, the guys that are being drafted are football players. They're not fly-by-nighters. They're serious football players. Now, for him to go to the 7th round and get the very last pick, go figure. Shanahan knew what he was doing. This kid at Iowa State started 4 years in a row, folks. Freshman through senior. He threw for over 12,000 yards. And you're telling me that this kid is the last kid to be drafted?
Yeah.
Someone's nuts.
Yeah.
It wasn't Shanahan. Shanahan knew what he was getting.
Yeah, I mean, Brock, and I said it about Brock Purdy. I said going in when I was talking about quarterbacks, I believe in my analysis of the quarterbacks in that draft that I had made a statement that, Brock Purdy's numbers were pretty darn good. And then, you go and look at this, and I remember I was upset that he was drafted last. I was like, how does this man get the last pick? By the way, let's do away with Mr. Irrelevant. I've said it a million times. It sounds disrespectful. It puts them behind the 8 ball in their career. There's a lot of relevancy. There's a lot of guys that have made the NFL that are undrafted. There's guys that have made it in the 7th round. The leading tackler in the NFL from Syracuse was a 7th round pick, Zaire Franklin for the Indianapolis Colts. And look at what he's done. So I think it's time to stop saying that stuff. They don't call Tom Brady irrelevant. He was a backup quarterback at Michigan. You could have easily called him irrelevant. Brock Purdy wasn't a backup quarterback at Iowa State. He was starting. And he played for 4 seasons. So, to me, let's give the man his flowers. Please stop saying that Kyle Shanahan has an offense where it's plug and play and anybody can play in that offense. That's not true. Jimmy Garoppolo had success at times, and that's a good thing. But Trey Lance didn't have success there substantially. We didn't see continuous success from Nate Sudfeld. We didn't see Mullins. We didn't see continued success. We saw moments maybe with C.J. Beathard when he's had to step in. But Brock Purdy is talented. Brock Purdy is good at what he does. And what I can say about both of the quarterbacks in this Super Bowl is Jesus gave his what? Life for us. And that came from his what? Blood. And blood is what color? Red. And the 2 teams that wore red, who did they thank? God. Who talks about God all the time? Pat Mahomes and Brock Purdy. Watch their interviews. Watch Christian McCaffrey's interview. This Super Bowl was filled with people talking about God, and I want to thank other people in the media that it's not just me by myself. There's other people asking about faith, asking about God, and putting a spotlight on it. I want to thank the media that did it. I want to thank the players and coaches that talked about it. And I want to give the utmost respect that the 2 quarterbacks that played in this year's Super Bowl, 100% of the signal callers in this year's Super Bowl game We're giving the glory to God, speaking about God. Pat Mahomes said God challenged us this year, and Brock Purdy had tremendous conversations about Jesus Christ and God. So above all things, God was at the spotlight. God was at the center. God got the thanks immediately, and that to me is a victory.
That's it. The best commercial, too.
There you go. Papa Joe and myself, Dan Tortora. PJ, as always, I appreciate you, and I hope everything goes well this week, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
I'll keep hanging in there. Thank you, Daniel. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. See you. That coming from PJ here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for tuning into this broadcast. And said Purdy will go far. He has that inner mentality and obedience to go far. Yeah, listen, I was a fan of Brock Purdy. I was a fan of Brock Purdy before he became anything. I was like, how does this guy get drafted last, like I just said? And then when you see the way that he played his rookie season last season, by the way, folks, his rookie season last season, let me say it again, his rookie season last season and what he did in 2022. And then you look at his second season in the NFL and he's in a Super Bowl. We talk about how Pat Mahomes goes to Super Bowls being so young in the NFL, 6 years as a starter, 7 years in total. And we look at Brock Purdy, who is a starter, became a starter as a freshman in the NFL, as a rookie, and look at what he's done. And in his second season, he's in the Super Bowl and they're going to overtime. He's not Mr. Irrelevant. He is very relevant, and he was relevant. And if you took the chance to look at his numbers and do any research on Brock Purdy, you should be as surprised as I was that this man was the last pick of the 2022 NFL draft at pick 262. Ridiculous, but a great steal for San Francisco. They traded up 9 spots to get Trey Lance, used all that money in capital. Where did it get them? They get a guy in the 7th round for peanuts, and they go to the Super Bowl. Hey, you do your research. You never know when you're going to find something special, and you can never count out making sure you do your due diligence and turn over all of the rocks to make a good decision. So shout out to the scouting of San Francisco that thought, hey, this guy's here for the last pick. We might as well take him. God bless to the team that did that and to the person or people that helped make that decision. With that being said, I want to thank you for tuning in to today's show. And, of course, you could find Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And thank you so much, San Francisco 49ers fan. Please join us again. To everybody that watches and listens, you're with us around the world, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around this beautiful spinning rock we call Earth on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on internet streaming radio on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they jump into the archive, and you will find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, you could visit our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, and why wouldn't you? Fantastic people, fantastic places. Carvel DeWitt, where I have my own Sunday, the DT Dolphin, as an ode to the LeMoyne College Dolphins. You can go and get that Sunday today. And by the way, every week on Wednesdays, buy one, get one. You can buy one, get a DT Dolphin Sunday. Buy one, get one free, only at Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street on Wednesdays. And you can get the Sunday every week, all throughout the week, no matter what the season. Don't let the cold weather fool you. Mint chocolate chip ice cream, whipped cream cherry, green and gold sprinkles, hot fudge, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. Why would you not want that every day? I don't care if it's 12 degrees outside. I don't care if it's 89. You go to get that DT Dolphin at Carvel DeWitt today, as well as all of their amazing favorites. And, of course, go and get that Valentine's Day cake at Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. The Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. You need some snacks. You need some sweet and savories, right? For the ones that you love, you want to do something nice for Valentine's Day. Chocolate dipped. You know people love that stuff. You can find all of it at Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, my snack capital, on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Let them know the DT sent you. GG Cards and Breaks, a great thing to kind of stuff into that Valentine's Day gift, especially for your kids. Meant the world to me when my mom did it. So if you go and buy a pack at GG Cards and Breaks today on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, you can make a memory for your loved ones. PB&J's Lunchbox, Avicoli's, Great Lakes, Honda City, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, where I have my own sandwich 7 days a week, 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York, you will find 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. the Cuse McMother. The Cuse McMother is my sandwich, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Cut it up and have it with some syrup. And it's great to have after an upset victory over North Carolina. Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, and we are the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your LeMoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins during Dolphin time on Wednesdays like today, where we have the opportunity at 9 a.m. Eastern time to bring you your LeMoyne College Dolphins every single Wednesday, AD and DT on the first and third Wednesday of each month with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, like today. And every second and fourth Wednesday, you'll have the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. Find all of our content by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Hit the notification bell and check out our LeMoyne Dolphins playlist on our YouTube channel. You can also find them by going to wakeupcalldt.com. Underneath the exclusive partners tab, you'll find LeMoyne. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. And as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You just got to get the exclusive first interview with the new esports head coach at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, Connor Carroll, and you get all of the exclusives with the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse only on Wake Up Call in what we like to call Bobcat Buzz. You can find them every single month in specials airing all throughout the year. And of course, you can find them on our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Hit subscribe and the notification bell. And check out our playlist, BSC Syracuse Bobcats, on YouTube. You can also find them on the exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And this Friday and Saturday, head out to Allen Hall on the OCC campus in Syracuse, New York, to see the Bobcats men's and women's basketball final home games of the 2023-24 regular season. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for tuning in. Big time shout out to Ma and Pa's. Like I said, the snack capital, perfect place for all your holidays, including today for Valentine's Day. It's not too late to get your sweet and savory treats over at Ma and Pa's. Let them know that DT sent you. That's all you got to say. DT sent me in, 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Looking forward to seeing y'all out there supporting a wonderful local business and a wonderful team and family. AD and DT, big time thanks to Bob Beretta. Big time shout out to Syracuse Orange men's basketball and a huge victory that showed the full 40 minutes of play for the first time this season for Syracuse basketball against an opponent of that caliber. So shout out to Syracuse for that. Big time shout out to Papa Joe, and thanks as always. Prayers for healing for Papa Joe completely and for good, and no matter what, through God himself, and to handle well whatever comes his way. Same prayers for every single one of you. God bless y'all. Happy Valentine's Day. Spread the love every day of the year. Happy Ash Wednesday. Spread God every day of the year. And even if you never have, say a prayer. Let God in and watch God help you to have the truly best life that you could possibly have. I don't know how people do it without God. I've tried and I fail. So make sure you do it with God. And give everything that you possibly can. Love God to the nth degree. Love yourself and be good to each other. Mom, I look forward to seeing you in a little while for Valentine's Day. Thank you for always being my Valentine. And I do want to say to my mom that I hope you're enjoying Florida and all that the Bubbles have to offer. And as long as you don't see them on any other television program this year, we're in good shape. I love my parents, my Valentines. Mom and Dad, Deb and Ralph, love you so much. Big time shout out to my daughter, Lily, and a happy Valentine to my Valentine, Miss Lily. My Valentines in heaven, Mordu, Cinnamon, and Shady. My G-Mama, my Gammy, my Pop Miller, my Pop Cavino, my Grandpa Bill, and my Papa Pandozzi. Happy Valentine's Day. I love and I miss you all. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Have a beautiful day. keep God first, and remember, I'm always